September 25th, 1970. America was still reeling from the summer of 1969, Woodstock, the moon landing, the Manson murders. The country was fractured along every fault line imaginable: age, race, politics, war. And then into that turbulent world pulled a bus. Not just any bus, a psychedelically painted, harmoniously musical bus, carrying what the network promised was America's perfect family: a widowed mother, 5 impossibly charming children, and 1 perpetually beleaguered manager. ABC's The Partridge Family ran for 4 seasons and 96 episodes, from 1970 to 1974. In that short window, it became one of the defining pop culture phenomena of the decade. The fictional band was nominated for a Grammy for Best New Artist, their debut single on the Billboard Hot 100. At the peak of Cassidy Mania, the show's teen idol David Cassidy had a fan club larger than Elvis Presley's and the Beatles combined. The velvet suits, the coordinated harmonies, the spotless suburban home, and the open road stretching endlessly ahead. It was a vision of American life so frictionless that it felt almost like a fever dream. But behind the pastel veneer, the cast lived lives of extraordinary complexity, of soaring triumph and crushing collapse, of reinvention and tragedy, of battles fought in the dark long after the cameras stopped rolling. What happens when the music stops? This is the story of 8 people and where the decades have taken them. Shirley Jones, Shirley Partridge. Before she ever climbed aboard that painted bus, Shirley Mae Jones was already a legend.
Well, I guess you're all wondering why I look this way. It's a good question.
Born in Pennsylvania in 1934, Jones was signed by the legendary songwriting duo of Rodgers and Hammerstein at her very first audition in New York. She lit up the silver screen in Oklahoma and Carousel, embodying the golden-voiced ingenue. Hollywood tried to confine her to that archetype, but Shirley Jones refused. In 1960, she took the role of a vengeful prostitute in Richard Brooks's drama Elmer Gantry. Opposite Burt Lancaster, she delivered a performance of such ferocious power that she won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. She became the first woman to hold both an acting Oscar and a #1 Billboard hit simultaneously. Her agents warned her about television. "Do a hit series," they told her, "and your film career will end." Jones listened, weighed the advice, and in 1970 accepted the role of Shirley Partridge anyway, partly because the 20-year-old unknown, cast as her eldest son, turned out to be her real-life stepson, David Cassidy. Her agents were right about one thing: Shirley Partridge would follow her forever. They were wrong about everything else.
Mom, this is an emergency.
It's an emergency every month. I've loaned you all the money I intend to.
Is that final?
That's final.
Jones brought dignity and quiet star power to the role that served as the emotional anchor of the entire enterprise. As of 2026, Shirley Jones is 91 years old, a living monument to a Hollywood era that no longer exists. She has outlived her first husband, Jack Cassidy, her second husband, Marty Ingalls, and her beloved stepson. She has been a farm girl, a prostitute on screen, a widowed mother in Velvet, and an Oscar winner. Those who know her describe a woman who has faced every grief with remarkable grace. David Cassidy, Keith Partridge. There has perhaps never been a teen idol manufactured so quickly, burned so brightly, or paid so steep a price for his fame as David Cassidy.
Is there about the teenage girl that makes her follow around someone just because they sing? Guys don't do that.
It has a lot to do with sports.
Born in 1950, he arrived in Hollywood as a teenager with ambition and a face of extraordinary beauty. In 1970, almost by accident, his stepmother helped him walk into the role that would define and ultimately destroy him. Within 2 months, I Think I Love You was #1. Within a year, David Cassidy was arguably the most famous human being on Earth. His likeness was everywhere. He sold out Madison Square Garden in a single day and toured internationally to crowds that surged and screamed with a collective intensity that would eventually turn dangerous. At London's White City Stadium in 1974, a 14-year-old girl died after being crushed in a crowd surge. David Cassidy later said, "The incident haunted him forever." He had already been trying to escape his golden cage, posing nude for Rolling Stone and discussing his drug use.
We're a very close family. That's not to say that we don't have arguments, because we do.
but we love each other very much.
Trying to signal that he was more complex than the image they were buying. The world refused to listen. After the show ended, Cassidy spent decades in a tug-of-war between the life he had and the one he wanted. He pursued musical theater and earned genuine critical respect on Broadway, but the scaffolding of his personal life was crumbling. He acknowledged his alcoholism, faced multiple DUI arrests, and declared bankruptcy in 2015. In 2017, Cassidy made a devastating public announcement. He had been diagnosed with dementia. He announced his retirement, but the full picture was more tragic. In his final days, Cassidy confided to a producer that there had been no dementia. It was complete alcohol poisoning, he said. I lied about my drinking to cover up the sadness and the emptiness. On November 21st, 2017, David Cassidy died of liver failure at 67. The pressure of being everyone's fantasy had consumed him, but for 4 years on that painted bus, he made the whole world want to sing along. Susan Day, Lori Partridge. She came to the show with zero acting experience. Born in 1952, Susan Day was a teenage model when she walked into an audition at 17 and walked out as Lori Partridge.
We're very pleased that you won the contest, Mrs. Newgast. I'm Lori.
So who else would you be? Lori Partridge, firstborn girl.
The producer saw a composed, intelligent young woman who felt real. What the cameras didn't see was the cost. The relentless pressure of performing drove her toward an eating disorder.
Either someone I want to go out with wants to ask me out, or you're walking in your sleep.
Subsisting almost exclusively on carrots until her skin literally turned orange. It took the blunt observation of her 12-year-old co-star, Danny Bonaduce, to break through her denial. After the Partridge family ended, Day did something almost no child star manages. She disappeared for a decade, dismantled her image, and came back as an entirely different artist. In 1986, she joined the cast of the landmark legal drama L.A. Law as Grace Van Owen, a deputy district attorney who was everything Lori Partridge was not. Morally complex and shaped by genuine darkness. In 1988, Day won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama Series. The girl who played Tambourine was now one of the most respected dramatic actresses on television. As of 2026, Susan Day is 73 years old and brilliantly, deliberately absent. She maintains no public social media presence and declines reunion specials. Married since 1988, she traded the spotlight for a quieter life. The reinvention is complete. Danny Bonaduce. Danny Partridge. Of all the Partridge children, none lived a more publicly turbulent life than Danny Bonaduce. Born in 1959, he was 9 when he became Danny Partridge.
Couldn't we do this on flat ground? It's easier to whisper.
This is the best hiding place. You promise when I tell you it'll be a secret?
The wisecracking, scheming youngest son, whose comic sparring with manager Reuben Kincaid became the show's funniest engine. The years after the show were not kind. Bonaduce has spoken openly about homelessness, drug addiction, arrests.
Absolutely no case against us.
So far, so good. Do you think it'll work?
Of course, it's an old formula. Greed plus opportunity.
And the cruelty of being famous at 9 and irrelevant at 15. What he found his way back to was radio, a medium that suited his unfiltered candor, building a successful second career. He survived things that would have finished many men. Everyone thought I'd be the first Partridge to go, he said in 2015. In 2022, Bonaduce's speech became slurred. What followed was a year of medical uncertainty and the terrifying sight of a man who had fought everything unable to walk unassisted. In 2023, he was diagnosed with normal pressure hydrocephalus, a dangerous fluid buildup in the brain. He underwent brain surgery to implant a draining shunt. I lived, Bonaduce tweeted from his hospital bed. He returned to the airwaves and became an advocate for hydrocephalus awareness. As of 2026, the 66-year-old continues to navigate a life that has never once given him the mercy of being dull. He is still standing. Suzanne Crowe and Dave Madden, Tracy Partridge and Reuben Kincaid.
How did Lori start that fire anyway?
I don't know. I was too busy sulking.
2 members of the extended cast are gone now, and their departures felt like the closing of a door on something irretrievable. Suzanne Crowe was the show's beating emotional heart, the wide-eyed youngest child. After the show, Crow made a deliberate escape from the celebrity machine. She worked as an office manager, built a quiet life in California, raised 2 daughters, and became a grandmother. On April 27, 2015, Crow was found dead at her home. She was 52. A coroner's investigation determined she died from arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, a rare cardiac condition that causes sudden arrest without warning. Suzanne left behind no tabloid headlines or cautionary tales. She left behind a loving family and the memory of a little girl who made the world feel bright.
10. Why?
I keep getting this funny feeling that I'm dealing with a 40-year-old midget.
Dave Madden, the long-suffering manager Reuben Kincaid, claimed to despise children on screen, while quite obviously adoring them. His comic chemistry with Bonaduce was the show's other great engine. Off-screen, Madden was a second father to Bonaduce, taking the boy in during a period of family crisis and providing much-needed stability. Dave Madden died on January 16, 2014, at 82 from complications of a bone marrow disorder. He died with his affairs in order and his humor intact. His passing preceded Crow's by just over a year. Crow had been especially close to Madden, and together in memory, they remain the show's most quietly beloved figures. Brian Forster and Jeremy Gelbwaks, Chris Partridge.
Everybody says you have to be born in the right kind of family.
No character in the show's history has a stranger duality than Christopher Partridge, played by 2 human beings who grew up to inhabit entirely different worlds. Jeremy Gelbwaks was 9 when he became Chris in the debut season. By all accounts, the experience was unhappy. David Cassidy noted personality conflicts, and Shirley Jones diplomatically suggested Gelbwaks simply wasn't happy acting. After 1 season, his family relocated, and Gelbwaks walked away from acting forever. He went on to study technology and science at UC Berkeley and Columbia, building a successful career in business and settling in New Orleans.
Thank you for inviting me, Danny.
I'm not Danny, I'm Chris.
Chris!
Brian Forster replaced Gelbwaks in 1971 at age 11, staying until the show's conclusion. Coming from a lineage of actors, he played the drums with genuine enthusiasm. When the cameras stopped, Forster traded one kind of speed for another. He became a competitive racing car driver in Northern California, winning regional championships and racing into his 60s. He also pursued regional theater and the wine business. Together, the 2 Chrissies represent the show's most unexpected afterstory. The drummer on the bus became a racing driver. The other became a technologist. The music played, and they both got on with it. The Partridge Family was, in the end, a show about the gap between the life we present
His name was Sheriff Swell. Not only was he sheriff,
and the life we live. It intended to be light, musical, and commercially successful. It was all of those things, but the decades have retrofitted it with a depth its creators never planned.
Let's ride a dream.
As of March 2026, the surviving members of that original cast, Shirley Jones at 91, Susan Day at 73, Danny Bonaduce at 66, Brian Forster at 65, and Jeremy Gelbwaks at 64, carry the show's legacy in profoundly different ways. One as a living monument, one in deliberate privacy.
Will you go on?
Where's Tracy?
One in ongoing survival, and two in lives that asked nothing more of Hollywood than the right to be left alone.
You're taking auto shop.
Auto shop. Me too.
Three cast members are gone. Their absence reshapes every viewing of the show now, lending its sunlit interiors a kind of ache. Come on, get happy, the song said. And for 4 seasons, they did. And then the music stopped, and each of them had to figure out what came next. Some found peace. Some found reinvention. Some found the road impossibly hard. All of them, in their different ways, were real. Far more real than the perfect family they were asked to play. That reality, it turns out, is the most lasting thing they left behind.